The Prez wants a little credit. He wants a little credit for lower Thanksgiving meal prices. I mean, come on, you just finished the big weekend. How about, throw a brother a little bit of credit for apparently dinner staples, airfare, and gasoline being cheaper today than at this time last year.
What?
Yes. President Joe Biden and his Democratic allies want a little credit for the falling costs. Inflation remains higher than pre-pandemic levels, but prices are falling year to year.
Wait a minute. I thought the president had no control over prices. So what is it?
The president has no control over gas prices.
I mean, either you have no control over it or you want to take credit for it. Which is it?
No, this is a classic mistake. I'm not surprised that you would make it, frankly, Kim, because, the president has control, and economic policy does control prices in many ways. I mean, you've seen Fed policy affect inflation, right? Essentially, that's the big governor we have on it. It's not always the best way to handle inflation, but it's the way that's most typically used to handle inflation. But the president, for example, has no control over fuel prices. They're just affected on the international market by so many things you have no control over. But economic policy does affect prices, most certainly. And so it's fair to peacock a little bit. Yeah.
Over time, not like you don't wave your hand and say, well, Thanksgiving dinner is cheap now.
Well, you can look year to year. I think that's fair.
Yeah.
You can say this year, which is all they're saying. They're saying this year it's less. Mm-hmm. Those elements that are associated with the Thanksgiving dinner are less expensive than they were last year.
Yeah.
So the key holiday expenses, airfare and gasoline, they've fallen. Now, to Kim's point, after I've just put Kim down, I'd like to give her a little credit.
Yeah.
That airfare and gas, dude, we can't give you credit for that. For the reasons that Kim just has noted, which is you don't really have control over that. Now, these other things, the other staples, the expenses that might go into that dinner or those meals or major staples in American households, yeah, okay, we'll give you some credit for that. But the big thing they care about is not whether Kim and Mark give him credit. Mm-hmm. They care about whether Randy will give him credit. And here Randy is in the chat. It doesn't matter if Biden has control or not over prices and which prices. He's the president, and the blame stops with him. Come voting time. Wow.
Good day, sir.
Okay, that's certainly true. And that, interestingly, Randy, is one of the things that they're concerned with. They're concerned with Biden being given credit for the fact that some products and services are cheaper today than a year ago. Again, prices for staples still higher overall than before the pandemic, but year to year, they're cheaper. So you can blame COVID-19 and disruptions in the supply chain, but essentially they're saying, hey, how about a little bit of credit for some good economic policy and writing herd over it? If you're going to fault Biden for prices going up, says Vilma, then you have to give him credit when prices go down. Exactly. All right.
Good day, sir.
Exactly. It is true, but most of the stuff is politicized, so you're right. Your implication is correct, which is you don't get credit, for lower prices if you're trying to be tagged by someone who is looking to make political hay of it, The other thing that's happening is there's certain elements and stories within the economy that are being used and politicized to attack Biden and his administration. And so the most recent one is this $16 McDonald's meal. And by the way, Kim pointed this out to me. I didn't even know about this.
Yeah.
This is a $16 McDonald's meal. And, it's like really like a one-off. It was like found in you'll correct me, Kim, but it's like, it's not a common thing, this $16 McDonald's meal. It was found in this place. If you order this and you order that, then it can come out to $16. Then they post it on social media, and right-wing media just takes off with it. Look, Biden, has ruined even McDonald's. Isn't that more or less the story?
Yes, although I don't necessarily know that it's only in one place, because I think that prices have gone up at fast food restaurants. So if you're headed through the drive-through, don't be surprised that what used to cost maybe $10 will cost you 20-25 right now.
What?
That's just
Well,
the way it is.
It says here that in the town of Post Falls, Idaho, this is why I said it was like in this one place,
Right.
that this guy ordered a limited edition. Again, that's why I
Yeah.
said it was a one-off.
Yeah.
A limited edition smoky double quarter pounder BLT with fries and a Sprite. The meal cost $16.10. And of course, he then posted that on TikTok, and that's how it went viral. There it is. But I'm just suggesting that it might not be, well, you may be right. It might be more expensive in general.
Yeah.
It's not, it's not that. Right.
Right.
So there are a bunch of Reddit posts and YouTube posts saying, dude, that's not what it is. This is like really, twisting the facts. But the administration, there it is, $16.10. But the administration is trying to get a hold of that, like to try to beat back the social media drums. It's really, really tough. And so Biden and his people are saddled with that.
That's the thing, is you put something like that on social media, it takes off like wildfire. And then, it becomes this meme for blaming the president for something. So.
Exactly. No, that's right. So Biden has to deal with that. And that is Bowling with Biden for today.
That's all for this edition.
There's your new leader.
But join us again next time for Bowling with Biden.
Yeah, I don't know.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Meantime, on the other side of the political spectrum, he's at it again. Everybody's favorite ex-president. Here it is, your chunk of Trump.
Open wide.
Ready?
Here comes your chunk of Trump.
It's my favorite food.
With your first bite, here's Mark Thompson.
I have a feeling it's going to be beautiful.
Well, Donald Trump is stumping a little bit in Iowa. He's not really out there on the big grand Trump tour the way he used to be. But in Iowa, he has made comments that might give some Americans concern. He has hinted at an expanded role for the military within the U.S. And you may say, well, you can't do that because there are laws that prevent that for putting U.S. troops on the street. Not so fast. He actually can do that. First, let's review his frustration. He is concerned with what happened during his administration the last time when there was widespread protest on American streets. And the president wanted to bring in troops, and he started with Washington, D.C., wanted to bring in troops to quell that violence. There wasn't really violence. I think there was some violence. Actually, that's not fair. There was violence. There was looting, and most of the protests were peaceful, but then there was looting. And without going through all of it, let's assume for this, the sake of this situation and discussion, that there is some kind of situation of unrest, okay? So he says he wants to use the military to quell that violence in what he calls primarily democratic cities and states. So he wants to bring it into, those cities and states that are run by those evil Democrats. In fact, he called New York City and Chicago crime dens. And he told his audience, quote, "The next time I'm not waiting. One of the things I did was let them run it, and we're going to show how bad a job they do. Well, we did that. We don't have to wait any longer." He's not said exactly how he wants to use the military during a second term, but it is worth noting, because I know perhaps you hear that and you go, well, he can't do that as president. Actually, he can. There is a law that prevents the president from doing that unless he invokes the Insurrection Act. And when he invoked the Insurrection Act, and it may seem like a bridge too far, but it's not. He almost crossed that bridge, right? It allows presidents to call on reserve or active duty military units to respond to unrest in the states.
That's rich. I mean, honestly, really?
Right. It's even
We're gonna
worse than
let the guy use the Insurrection Act who caused an insurrection?
Exactly. In fact, the details bear out exactly what Kim's saying.
Dear Lord.
You, as president, you have very few constraints on using the Insurrection Act. It is basically political. People don't use it who are president because they're worried about tanks rolling down the street and the reaction of the public, of the body politic, right? But there's not much really in the law to prevent the president from doing it. This, according to Joseph Nunn, a national security expert with the Brennan Center for Justice. And it is very possible, and I'll remind you what happened with the president, even though Kim has sort of just mentioned, it's very possible that Trump can declare it even as he incites it. Trump has already suggested that he might bring back retired Army Lieutenant General Michael Flynn. Now, Michael Flynn is a hard right, lawless guy. I believe he should be stripped of government pension. You'll know he got a pardon from Donald Trump for lying to the FBI, right? And he suggested in the aftermath of the 2020 election that Trump seize voting machines and order the military to some states to help rerun the election. That's who Michael Flynn is. It's very much possible that he could be part of a second Donald Trump administration. So you would get pushback maybe from the Pentagon, but maybe not, to grant the Pentagon more and more power. They might be up for it. So this is something that Donald Trump has talked about, and clearly I believe he's a little more unhinged on the stump than he used to be, but he's very much committed to no more Mr. Nice Guy as being part of what he does in his second term. And that is Chunka Trump.
That's it for this edition.
Well, I really enjoyed it.
But make sure to join us again next time
I think you might want to listen. There's nothing wrong with listening.
for another chunk of Trump.
Hi, it's Mark, and I thought that was great. Hit the notification bell. You'll know whenever there's a new video being dropped, and please subscribe to our channel to help us save the universe.